So I asked some of our games fans what I should ask Todd in particular. And they wanted to know, are you aware that they call you God Howard? And how do you feel about that?
My kids are still wildly unimpressed.
Jonah, I think in a recent interview, you mentioned that one thing you liked about Fallout was how every story in the games can be self-contained to the extent that this series could be considered Fallout 5. Wow. And I think that may have been misinterpreted in some areas. Would you like to clear the air on that now? Is this, quote-unquote, Fallout 5?
I think it would be very presumptuous for someone to assume that we'd reach the caliber of the games. But I think the conversation with me and Todd from the very beginning was the way the Fallout universe has been constructed. All of these stories with different characters connecting to the same larger universe. And for us as something to adapt, as a world that we could contribute to, just irresistible. It means you have all of the benefit of beautiful storytelling that Todd and the rest of the team has contributed to, but we also get to tell an original story within that world. Just as writers and filmmakers, it's just a dream come true.
I think we made Fallout 6.
Yeah, we know all about Fallout 5. We're not telling anyone.
Okay. Todd, everything about Fallout 5, now go.
Well, there were some things I said, don't do this, because we are going to do that in Fallout 5. But I think the intent of when you see that, it's how we approached it. I think it's one of the things unique about this sort of, we'll call it, genre translation of something, whether it's a game or a comic or some other book, is that it wasn't a translation of an existing story. It was, what would the next thing be? It just happens to be a TV show. And that was kind of the approach to it, the same way we approach games, and finding a location, finding tone, but still hitting on those authentic Fallout things that we like the games to have. What does it feel like to be in the vault and enter the wasteland? What is it like to have these different characters with different motivations? And so that was the approach that these people took, and it was great.
Todd, what do you think as a medium, TV or even just live action in general, can bring to the story that maybe a game couldn't necessarily, or how would it translate?
I mean, look, in many respects, a game is just one portal into viewing this world. Yes, you're in control. But for a lot of people, that can be a bit intimidating. They're not going to sit down and learn a game. There's like a whole process of learning. With doing it in the TV format, it can still be very cinematic. Sort of Jonah says, like we're doing an 8-hour movie here. And it brings it to, if you're a fan of the series already, you can jump in and experience the next chapter in Fallout. If you're not a fan and a bit intimidated by jumping in a game like that, you can experience everything that's great about this world by just clicking your button and enjoying it.
Walton, I had a question for you, and it is, where'd your nose go, bro?
I got to be honest with you, man. I'm so grateful for so many things in my life right now. I mean, the opportunity to work with Jonah and Graham and Geneva and to adapt this game and Aaron and Ella. But the one thing I am more grateful for than anything in my life right now is my nose. I am so grateful
it's a very
for
good
it.
nose.
I give it so much love. I look at it every day, especially after that trailer that was released yesterday. And I'm just, thank God I have a nose.
Come on, that was funny, guys. Come on.
Hey,
help.
It's a cold room, Walton.
Is there something that stands out from filming this that was particularly strenuous, interesting, or bizarre?
I think they were all strenuous, interesting.
I would be very careful here,
and
fellas.
bizarre.
I would just remember.
If
we get a second season, we may have some more strenuous or bizarre things for you guys to do.
I mean, I guess Walt and I are a little bit of the same school of thought in that the text is like a map. You know what I mean? It's clues to the experience, and just I guess if there was anything that was strenuous or exciting, or what we remember most is that like every script had so much detail in it. So we had these amazing maps, to the experience that we were going to put ourselves through. Yeah, every day was a challenge, but rewarding, in the same sort of fashion.
For me, the thing that I was most surprised about this experience, other than actually seeing it come to life whenever we got to these sets, and you would read it, and it's like, okay, how are they going to pull that off? And then you would get to set, oh my God, that's how they pulled that off. wow, we're really in this world. I didn't anticipate how lonely it would be for me as the ghoul. It was a process, and when we first walked out of the trailer, people either couldn't take their eyes of you or didn't want to look at you at all. And I felt very enclosed in that experience, like I was just alone inside of this guy's head, and it took some adjustment, to really kind of understand how to talk to people, kind of as this guy, and how to move in these clothes and move in this world. But once that kind of opened up, and I had the opportunity to play Cooper Howard, which we can't really go into that much. It fleshed the experience out for me, and one was internal, and the other was external.
Geneva and Graham, actually, I wanted to ask you, Fallout, the games and the franchise, has such a distinctive aesthetic and tone. Was there anything outside the Fallout universe that served as inspiration for the look, story, or tone of this?
We always talked about Canticle for Leibowitz as a novel that we absolutely loved, which is a very strange post-apocalyptic story, and it has a lot of the sort of elements of sort of some of the semi-religious aspects of the Brotherhood of Steel in it, and it's all about sort of finding relics from the world before the bombs were dropped and worshiping them. So that was very inspirational for the world that Maximus comes from for us. What about you, Graham?
There's a lot of stuff in there that has nothing to do with the apocalypse, right? Which is sort of the way that the Vault Dwellers live, which we kind of mapped our own experience out of in COVID onto. It's just sort of like we're patting ourselves on the back for doing such a good job of saving the world by staying indoors and having someone deliver our groceries. And we're very aware that we were Vault Dwellers, and it's a silly place to be, and we didn't shy away from making fun of ourselves and our role in all of that, and also the Vault Dwellers that way. From
your perspective, what makes a Fallout story a Fallout story?
It has to be fucked up on a really cursory, basic level, just a bit fucked up. I'm sure there's more sophisticated answers, but I just had a lot of barbecue, so I'm
I think that's the perfect answer. I mean, the tone was always what we talked about as the thing that was most sacred to us. Fallout is obviously one of the greatest video games of all time, but for me, what makes Fallout so unique within the category of like best video games of all time is its tone. It's that it's funny, it's weird, it's also full of action. Like it has all those facets to it, and so for us, like if we nail the tone, to us we've nailed the show. And of course, we could say like you also need story elements that pull from the mythology. There is such a wealth of astonishing creativity that the hundreds of people who've worked on the games for 25 years have brought, that really the problem for Graham and I and Jonah as we all worked on this was leaving things out was excruciating, because there's so much you love.
It always has an element of what would you do to survive? And people are going to make difficult choices, and the bad guys aren't always necessarily the bad guys, and good guys aren't necessarily the good guys, with the element of this romanticism of the past and the naivete of what the nuclear future is going to bring, and then it collapses. So you have this romanticism of the past mixed with the harsh reality and decisions that you have to make in your present.
Aaron, I wanted to know if you could tell me a little bit more about Maximus and what you like about the character.
Do you want to ask why do we care
Why do
about
we
Maximus?
ask that question first?
Why do we care?
I guess a good artist is a good question asker, right, John? I think overlooking the obvious as a member of the Brotherhood of Steel, I think what I love most about the character is there's a war going on within him. I guess that's what really most attracted me to him. That's all I could even first get a whiff of from the scripts that Geneva and Graham had sent me, and it reminds me of myself personally. It reminds me of all of us. I think there's so many different things at war within ourselves constantly, and it's a challenge, but it's actually one of the most exciting challenges to get a part where you get to be at war within yourself.
Given that we're all understandably wary of spoilers, is there something that each of you is most excited for people to see once this is out?
I'm sure other folks are going to talk about the armor, so I'll go with Mr. Handy. I just love Jonah's work is remarkable in that he insists on building as much as we can practically. So we had this physical, very funny sort of puppet essentially to work with, and for me, just seeing that come to life with the actor that we have voicing him, I'm really excited for fans to see.
I'm simply going to harvest your organs.
Are we saying it's Matt Berry? I think we may be saying
Well, I think
it's
you
Matt
just
Berry.
did. So I guess
people
know it's Matt Berry.
Well done.
You're not hiding that voice.
Yeah,
It's
I
in
guess
the
that's
trailer.
fair. Who was I kidding?
I think for me, the one of the things I'm most excited for people to watch is one of the things that I was most excited to read in the script. Turned out to be Ella's first day shooting on set, which is a love scene. Then we went to lunch, and then we came back, and it becomes something very, very different. It was a moment for me reading the script where I thought, oh, we've got something pretty wild here.
Just as a fan of the games, the opportunity to show more of the world before the bombs dropped. There's a whole show there too, and we're putting it inside this show. There's not enough episodes to cram in how much stuff we want to cover, but in success, we'll have the opportunity.
It's no secret from the trailer that there is a Western element to this show, and I'm a part of that experience. The thing that I'm most excited for the audience to see is how organically the origin story and how organically it's tied into this visual expression of this experience. It's there for a reason, and for me, when I read it and I understood it, it's like, oh wow, of course, this is what it is. I've never experienced anything like that, and I've done a number of Westerns in my career, but this is it's pretty cool. Did I say, was that okay? Are we okay? Nobody can hear us.
We'll
right
talk
now,
later,
right?
Walton.
Okay.
What's your Austin's experience been like thus far? Aaron, are you from here?
Born and raised, yeah.
What's that been like to return home, and what's it been like for you guys bringing the show down here?
I mean, just personally for me, this is a totally different town than the one I grew up in. You know, I do think when I left, there was 20 cranes in the sky any direction you look down here, but it's a whole different beast with the same highways.
I think there's just a swagger to Austin and to South by Southwest, and it's just a relaxed cool. I've been here a number of times and worked in this city, a few times over the years, and it's a jewel, right? It's when they talk about some of the best cities in America, Austin is always in it, and this film festival is a big part of that experience for people.
This is actually my first South by Southwest.
How is that possible?
I come to Austin a bunch because we have a development studio here. Actually, one of our main Fallout teams is here in Austin. They still do Fallout 76, which is our online version of Fallout. And Austin, for a long time, I don't know if people know, is a hub for the gaming industry. Origin Systems back in the day, and the Ultima series and role-playing games. So it is this incredible hub of both creativity and music, but also technology. So I've been coming for a very, very long time, but they used to tell me, like, you might want to skip South by. It's really busy and all these things. I usually do studio visits, but it's great coming down, being able to visit the studio, be with the team, look at the games, and then come here and do all of this.
Yeah, we love Austin. This is one of the very first places we showed anybody anything from Westworld, and it's been special to come back ever since.